Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to my channel. And in this series, we are going to go through a few exercises for preparing CKAD exam, Certified Kubernetes Application Developer. So to start with, I will create a namespace. Okay, so I before starting, I would like to say that I have set my alias. So if you see the alias, I have got a few aliases over here. So K means that it's basically kubectl. So whenever I am typing K, you please know that it's kubectl. So I'll clear this up and create a namespace temp. Temp namespace has been created. In this temp namespace, I'm going to create a pod and its associated deployment, and then also a matching service. All these three things, the pod and the deployment and the service, will have the name web. So I'm going to create that. So this, when I say care run kubectl run web, which means that this is creating for me a deployment, and that deployment will have the pod. The deployment will have the pod associated with it. So if I do a restart never, that means it will be a pod, but I do not want only to create the pod. I also want the deployment, and I want the deployment should create the pod. So I will not give restart never, and I will only give the image over here, which will be the nginx, the latest this nginx image. And then I'll put labels, which is app is equal to web, and I'm exposing it. Expose basically means I will create a service associated with this particular pod, and on which port. So port I have to specify, which will be, for this case it will be 80. So this particular port is associated with not only the service but also the pod. That is an important point to remember. And I will check how this goes by doing a dry run, so that I need to check that if it is syntactically correct or not. And so you can see it will get created like this. It's just a dry run, so it is not actual to check the syntax. And if you do a -o YAML, it will give you the syntax also. So here you can see that this is the syntax of the service, and the service is basically on port 80, and the target port, which is the port of the pod, that is also 80. And if you see the deployment, so this is the deployment, where the label is also app is web, and the template of the deployment, which basically uh, contains the information for the pod. So the container port will be 80 and the image will be nginx. All these informations are there inside the deployment template. So in accordance with these information, these three things will be created: the deployment, the pod, and the service. Therefore, we now create it. We do not want syntax anymore. We do not want it to dry run. We want to actually create it. But wait, where do I want to create it? I want to create it in a temp namespace. So temp. Okay, so it got created. So if I do k-n temp namespace, and then we get all the resources over there. What are there? You can see the pod got created right now, 12 seconds. Just now I created, and service got associated with it, and the deployment also. So these three things are there. Replica set is something you can, it's basically the deployment creates a replica set, and the replica set again creates the pod. That is how it works. This is all fine. I'll clear this up. So in my temp namespace, these things have been created. Now what the next thing that I want to do is, inside the temp namespace, I'm going to create a jump box with a label app is equal to jumpbox1 and image busybox, and the whole thing, the pod, will be named as jumpbox1. I will enter it and I will try to access the service web that I created just now. Let's see how it goes. So inside temp namespace, I'm creating a jumpbox1, and it is a pod, so it will be restart never. That is what you have to mention when it is a pod. Image is busybox, and labels you can put app is equal to my or jumpbox 1, and then minus minus rm means I'll get inside it, and as soon as I come out of it, it should get destroyed altogether, so I don't have to delete it separately. And I do an interactive session and I get inside it on sh. So inside temp namespace I have got into this particular pod. Now I am inside the pod. Now I try to reach the service that I created a little while back. Specify a timeout of 2 seconds, which was web is the name of the service, on port 80. You can see I have reached it, so it's an nginx web server, so it gives this particular message, so that means that I am able to reach that service. So if I am trying to reach it on a different name, say web1, it is not existing, so it should give me an error, bad address, but I'm able to reach the service web which I just created now. So this is what just done. Created the jump box and could reach the service I just created now. So I'm exiting it right now, and once I exit, you can see that the jump box 1 is terminated. Jump box 1 is deleted and it is terminated. So that is why that minus minus rm that I gave for that particular purpose. So this is done. Next what are we going to do? We'll create another jump box, jumpbox 2, label it as app is equal to jumpbox 2 with image alpine this time. So earlier we had done it with image jumpbox, sorry, with image busybox, but this time we will do the same thing with image. So basically this is what we are doing with jumpbox 2, but image we are giving not busybox but alpine, and it's jumpbox 2. Basically this is what we are doing, and same way we want to reach out to the same web service. Web, what happens? I can, but suppose I want to also do a curl. So if I do curl minus v minus o, I do not want this to display me anything except the status, the HTTP status that I want. And so web colon 80, curl not found because curl is not there. So maybe we have to install curl. That's what is the need. We have to so we do apk add curl, so curl gets installed now, and then you can do the same thing now, and you can see this is the HTTP response which is 200. Okay, so we are able to reach it. we are able to reach the service web. So this all looks good. So we have already created jumpbox 2 and now we are exiting it so that it will get deleted and then finally terminated. Jumpbox 2 also got deleted. Now we are going to create a jumpbox 3 similarly, but this time without entering the pod. We are going to reach out to the web service, okay, without entering the pod. How do we do that? Let's see. I'll just clear it up. K minus n temp run jumpbox 3 image busybox. Okay, but it has to be a pod, so it will be restored never. Image busybox labels app is equal to jumpbox 3. I want to delete it once the task is done, and basically I want to reach out to that particular service. Yeah, let's see if it works. Yeah, so without getting into the pod, I give this command from outside the pod on this line itself, so it executes it. It reaches the nginx and then gives me the message that it has reached nginx and it has got the response. And then after that, when the work is done, then it gets deleted because of the minus minus rm command again. So why I showed this is that you not necessarily need to get into a particular pod if you want to do something. From outside also, say I want to check something, present working directory I want to check, so I can check it and it will tell me that I am in this particular directory, root directory, and then after that it gets deleted. But if I do not mention this minus minus rm, it will not get deleted as well. So it will, so this time the pod doesn't get deleted because I didn't give the minus minus rm. So in this case I have to delete the pod after the work is over, and basically I do not need this pod, so I delete it. Delete pod jumpbox 3, deleted. Next is, okay, so all this is about pod. So I suppose I want to create a jumpbox 4, but this time it needs to be a Docker container. So how do I do that? Jumpbox 4 Docker container. Docker ps minus a. So all this, I have got these containers which was like, I want to delete this alpine. What is it doing here? Just delete it. Okay, so I want to create Docker run. So for example, jumpbox 4. So name has to be jumpbox 4 and the image will be alpine. Sorry for that. Okay, so it's an interactive shell and the image is alpine. I want to get inside it. I have got into the container, so this time I have got into the container whose name is jumpbox 4, and there I can give some command. So I will try to, what I'll try to do is I will try to reach that same service web colon 80. It can't locate web because earlier I was using the same namespace, which was the temp namespace, and I was getting into the pod. So inside the same namespace you can connect with another service which is residing in the same namespace. It is possible to contact that particular service from a pod, but it is not possible because this time I have created a container, and therefore it's not possible for me to reach a service which is residing in another namespace. So these are the things that we have to keep in mind. So there are a lot of networking components that are involved here, so it just is not possible. Just remember for now, later on I'll cover more how actually we can contact to different services and different namespace. But this is just a fundamental thing. Just remember that if you have a particular pod running in a particular namespace, so it is not possible to reach that pod from just a Docker container. So you have to take care of the networking things as well. So we come out of this basically, and if we do a docker ps minus a, and we see that this particular alpine container that we created as some time back, about a minute ago, it exited, and I can actually kill this container, this particular container ID. I'm killing it, and then I'm going to show you that I'll create a nameless docker container now and do a echo hello world without entering the docker container. Okay, the status should be exited, and then I will delete the container. So let's do that, and let's create a nameless docker container docker. So for docker run alpine, so it is a container with image alpine, and I have not specified name over here. The name I had specified earlier here, but here I'm not specifying because it's a nameless docker container, and I want to execute something. Again, I do not want to enter the container. Without entering the container, I want to run something in the container. So here is hello world. You can see that I created the container, and it says hello world, and then it exited. What happened to the container now? Let's see. So it's a nameless container, so that's why the name has been given peaceful wing over here, that Docker automatically gives the name. But earlier, because I gave a jumpbox 4, so the jumpbox 4 name was given over here. But it exited, that is 11 seconds ago, just now. So I created it, so it exited, so I can again kill this container. It's not needed anymore. Okay, so these are the basic things, like when we are running some Kubernetes commands as also. At the same time, we should also be familiar with some of the Docker commands, because it's very easy to get confused between Kubernetes and Docker commands. But they are two different things. Kubernetes definitely uses containers within the pods, but then if you are a little bit familiar with the commands, it becomes that much easy, because we then know the actual difference, and then we are able to appreciate also, and our concepts are crystal clear, like what is Docker and what is Kubernetes, and how to get inside the container, how to get inside the pod. Then suppose a pod has two containers, I want to get into the second container inside the pod. All these things becomes easier once we are fluent, or once we are very comfortable with running the commands. That is why I'm showing these commands to you for your practice. Okay, and then next I create a nameless Docker container and enter it and run something. And then I come out of it, but this time I want to make sure that the container remains alive. How do I do that? So, because the moment I come out, we see that the container status becomes exited. But if you want that the container needs to be up and running, what do we need for that? So say excuse me for that. Docker run, say for example, a nameless container alpine, and is the image. This time I want it minus dit because I want it to run in background, and I also want to have an interactive shell. So I want to get inside it. Okay, and you can see I could not get inside it, but at least the container got created over here. So this time I want to get inside it now. This is a container ID. Okay, so I'm inside the container. I can do something, the present working directory, or what is the username, who am I, root. I'm logged in as the user root, and I can do something, the date. This is the date today, and then I come out of it. But this time, if I query this particular container, I see it is up. So it is not exited. So it is up because of this D that I have given over here. So it runs in background. So this is how you make sure that the container doesn't die or doesn't exit. It remains up and running. So if I remove this container now, what will happen? It will not get removed. It will give an error. It can't get removed because first of all you have to stop the container because it's up and running. So you stop it. Take some time because it's a running container, and then you can remove it. So when you say docker ps minus a, this is no more there. So that's it. And then next, I think that is done. I mean, our exercises are done. So basically, to wrap it up, what we did, we created temp namespace, and then inside the temp namespace, we created a pod and a service and a deployment with the name web and with image nginx. And then we gave a label to it, and then the service we exposed to 80, port 80. And then what we did after that, we created a jumpbox with label app is equal to jumpbox1, and then we entered in that particular uh, pod, and then we then reached out to the service web, and we saw that the output was okay because we could reach to that particular service. And then we came out of that particular pod. Then we created another jumpbox, but this time with the label app is equal to jumpbox2 and image was alpine. And then we installed curl in it so that we could curl to that same service and port 80. And then we created jumpbox4. Sorry, then we created we created jumpbox4, but this time with it was not a pod, but it was a docker container. And then we entered it and we ran the command. We tried to reach out to that particular same service. We saw that we are not able to reach out to that same service in the namespace temp. The service web, we are not able to reach the service web in namespace temp because from the container it is not possible. It is only possible from the temp namespace. Another jump box it is possible, another pod it is possible, but not from a direct container it is not possible. That we saw. And then we created a nameless docker container and echoed hello world, and that worked well. And then but it was when we came out we saw that the container was in exited status. And then we wanted that this time when we create a container and we run something, and when we come out, then it should remain up and running. We did that, and that's all. We have done the exercises on temp namespace, and I think we should delete temp namespace. Yeah, and the temp namespace is deleted, and that's all. I think you liked this particular video, and we have done some hands-on exercises. If you have liked, please click on like, and mention the comments below if you want any improvement or what kind of videos you want me to come up with. Then I will be able to get some more insights and try to make the videos even better. Thank you for your time. This is Dipesh signing off. Bye bye.